It's the Morning Star Drive 117.8. You soaring up with sky, now's the time, don't delay. I'm sitting in my ride and it's time to fly. So let's realign, just listen and fill your mind.
I'm burning with desire and the passion. Nobody can stop me when I'm like this. I got my head in the zone, you know. I'm on the Morning Star Drive, you know.
Hey guys, how's it going? It is Wednesday, June 2nd, and this is the Morning Star Drive on 117.8. We're on YouTube, so make sure to subscribe, follow us on SoundCloud, and make sure to support us on Patreon. So what is going on today on this wonderful Wednesday? We have some coronavirus updates, current news from around the world, realizing from the Alpha Day Tuesday morning message. Yes, and I hope that you guys are just really having an amazing day. Yes, it is Wednesday. We have service tonight too. How are you guys doing? Yes. It's the middle of the week. We're already halfway done. And it's also very, I would say, very symbolic because we're halfway done through the year already in June, right? And we're halfway done through the week. But I'm very thankful for all of you joining us here on the Morning Star Drive. Looking forward to some massive, amazing preaching tonight by the Lord. So let's start the day well with the show. Just want to remind everyone, keep liking and commenting. Want to hear from you guys. See what you think about all of our segments, programs, and new things that you want to hear too. All right, so... yesterday, we just had another vlog. Yes, I had some trouble with the police in Malaysia. There's about 2 weeks ago, I had some trouble with the police. So there's another shared experience in Malaysia. So go ahead, check that out on my vlog. And remember, this week's Sunday edition, I interviewed... who is it? It is Laura McFarlane from Melbourne, Australia. Yes, I believe their city is in lockdown until today or tomorrow, so make sure to catch on that interview. Very, very good interview. You guys can enjoy it. And next Sunday edition, we'll be meeting another member from somewhere around the world, so look forward to another inspiring interview. Yes, you know what? I don't know what it is, guys. I am fumbling with my words, but I know what it is, actually. I have this latte in front of me, and this is my second one of the day, and it's like, it's only midday so far, so my mouth and tongue are running faster than my mind, so that's why it's kind of like this. For those of you interested in the Monday night Zoom Bible study, I did time times and half a times the first section. I split into 3 parts, but go ahead and check that one out, time times and half a times. Right, it's part 1. So lots of good stories, and if you want to check it out, it'll be on the Patreon website. All right, so let's go get into today's featured artist of the day. I'm really fumbling my words. This caffeine is kicking in hard, okay? So today's featured artist of the day on this wonderful Wednesday. Who is it? We're going to go back to a new song that just came out this week from Amatsu Sora from Japan. And this song is a cover from John Legend, which is a very hard song to do. It is All of Me, right? And this is from a Japanese member. And wow, he does an amazing job. He also has a video on The Sky. If you go to the YouTube channel The Sky, man, this one just came out. Really, really good. So we're going to hear that first as a feature artist of the day. I do need to... this guy sounds like he can speak English pretty well, just from the way he sings. Unless he memorized English really, really well. But I really want to meet him, hopefully get an interview with him also. Also, second, we have Isomers from the Paper Music Associates in Korea, and that second song is called Live Your Life, Lyl. And last but not least, Somni Boys from America with Partners in Crime. So everyone, as we are already on the second day of the 70-day prayer condition, let's make sure that we put in a little prayer here for these member artists from around the world. All right, guys? So listen up and enjoy.
What would I do without your smart mouth? Draw me and you kicking me out. You got my head spinning, no kidding, I can't pin you down. What's going on with that beautiful mind? I'm your magical mystery ride, and I'm so dizzy to know what hit me, but I'll be alright. My head in the water, but I'm breathing fine. You're crazy and I'm out of my mind, 'cause all of me loves all of you. Love your curves and all your edges, all your perfect imperfections. Give your all to me, I give my all to you. You're my end and my beginning. Even when I lose the win, 'cause I give you all of me, and you give me all of you. Oh. How many times do I have to tell you? Even when you're crying, you're beautiful too. The world is breathing you down. I'm alone through every mood. You're my downfall, you're my muse, my worst distraction, my rhythm and blues. I can't stop sitting, it's breathing in my head for you. My hair's underwater, but I'm breathing fine. You're crazy and I'm out of my mind, 'cause all of me loves all of you. Love your curves and all your edges, all your perfect imperfections. Give your all to me, I'll give my all to you. You're my end and my beginning. Even when I lose the win, 'cause I give you all of me, and you give me all of you. I'll give you all of you. Curves on the table with both showing hurt. Risking your arms, oh it's hard, 'cause all of me loves all of you. Rub your curves and on your edges, all your perfect imperfections. Give your all to me, I give my all to you. You're my end and my beginning. Even when I lose the win, 'cause I give you all of me, and you give me all of you. I'll give you all of me, and you give me all of you. Oh.
남시계 마냥 부조신간이 너희들의 폭음덕에 나듯이 애맨 드림 단계 난 들고 들어갈래 heaven 왜 스프링 자리 잡고 나도 구원받아 자본주의 돈 버는 머신의 이름으로 시리가 돼도 좋아 주머니만 채워줘 비꼬르 꽁이라서 날 더 깨워줘 잠잠한 나이 같은 나를 데려깨라 쥐를 밟아주려 하니 그또의 연임이 오신 덕에 난 더 빠르게 될 수 있어 100천만 원은 그때니 5천만의 라이스끼리 결국엔 말이 한 곳으로 모이지 돈이 머니 돈이 결국 답이 돈 없음 불행하지 너만큼 지루하지 비슷했건 구름대로 비가 되지 아버지만 아니에요 젊은 것도 포함이 저 비꼬는 거 아냐 비스코 찍다 미안해 I'm a lover yeah ever dream 죽었다면 난 꿈을 못 꾸지 네가 말한 생각이 또 틀린 거니 먼저 버린 왜 너만 계속하니 내 꿈 찾으러 왜 날이 올라가리 따뜻해 해도 야 외로워 또 미래 같이 가는 형들 기다리고 있음 알았으면 짐을 싸야지만 나를 많이 사랑 나는 꿈을 꿀 사람은 가는 곳이 하나 8살에 나침반 가슴 중에 팡 나는 아이언맨 모든 미래 드림 날 이걸 잊지 말아 몰라면 어때 시간 빠르게 해서 정신 차려 네가 말했던 가나 네가 많이 있어 생겨나면 식 정도면 감사해 가
다 집어 던지고 fly away 뭘 고민해 시간 아깝게 누가 뭐래 Cause I want it like a child again yeah 눈을 떠보니 잊어버렸었지만 꿈에서 봤던 내가 아직 거기 있다면 take me there yeah
알람은 꺼져요 Why are you 안 달라 꿈속에서 꺼내와 사랑의 내 꿈 그래서 만날 거야 기다려 마주 난 난 널 보고 죽을래 시간이 빨라 놓치기 전에 퓨 보름달이 펴에서 달려 I go like 꿈꾸도 Waste my game 말이 어렵잖아 내가 신발 봐 I want no city 당당하게 그럼 결국 날 날려 걸음의 생이 될 거야 내 기억 내 말 그럼 못 넘겨 드러난 그런 꿈꿔
난 네가 아닌 게 기웃거리 boy 내 꿈에 눈이 멀어버리는 게 나 Just live your life, live your life 다 집어던지고 fly away 뭘 고민해 시간 아깝게 누가 뭐래 Cause I want this like a child again 눈을 떠보니 잊어버렸었지만 꿈에서 왔던 내가 아직 거기 있다면 take me there
Don't worry if you get no signs, 'cause everything will be alright. Promise me you won't leave me in the dark. Yeah. You asked if I had no regrets. I smile 'cause I only feel blessed to be with you. This love will never go away. I'll stay by you until the end, 'cause we're partners in crime, like we're Bonnie and Clyde. And there's nothing that will get in our way, 'cause you're my only one. My heart will stay the same. Only one. I promise I won't change. Only one. My heart will stay the same. Only one. I promise I won't change. I want this feeling for the rest of my life. When we're together, I feel so alive. No matter what troubles we face, we will never lose our faith in our love. You asked if I had no regrets. I smile 'cause I only feel blessed to be with you. This love will never go away. I'll stay by you until the end, 'cause we're partners in crime, like we're Bonnie and Clyde. And there's nothing that will get in our way, 'cause you're my only one. My heart will stay the same. Only one. I promise I won't change. Only one. My heart will stay the same. Only one. I promise I won't change.
And there you have it. That is the Sumney Boys from America with Partners in Crime. Before that, we have Isomers. They are the hip-hop group from Paper Music Associates in Korea with LYL, Live Your Life. And of course, the featured artist of the day, Amatsu Sora from Japan with the cover from John Legend, all of me. And yes, that cover was legendary. Really, really good. Thank you so much for doing that cover, Amatsu. I hope I can get an interview with you sometime, because your English seems pretty good too. Either way, so let's get into some news going on around the world. We're gonna start off with the coronavirus updates. In the world, 171.4 million cases, 3.5 million deaths at 2.08% mortality rate. Now, top 5 countries going by daily infection rates, and a big country is missing from this, guys. India is number 1, okay, which means there's a country missing. 28.1 million cases, 331,000 deaths at 1.18%, and their mortality rate went up 0.01%. Brazil, 16.5 million cases, 462,000 deaths at 2.8%. Argentina, 3.7 million cases, 78,000 deaths at 2.06%. Colombia, 3.4 million cases, 88,000 deaths at 2.61%. And then Iran comes in 5th with 2.9 million cases, 80,000 deaths at 2.75%. Now, Sweden, only country not to go into full lockdown, is remaining at 1.35%, and Belgium used to be over 16%, is remaining at 2.35%. So which country is missing? It is the U.S. Surprisingly, I don't think this has ever happened. Like, it's been a year since this has happened, right? The U.S. is actually out of the top 5. So let's look at daily infection rates. Then you'll know what number like the U.S. is lower than, because we'll see the top 5 daily infection rates. You know that obviously we know that the U.S. is lower than the lowest, right? Than the 5th. So India is 126,000 cases a day. Great news. That's a big jump down to 126,000 cases. Brazil at 32,000. Argentina 28,000. Colombia, 23,000. So there's 3 countries in South America right there. But Iran is 5th with 11,000 cases, which means what? The U.S. is under 10K in a day, which is great news for them. Over here in Southeast Asia, Malaysia's on top once again, 6,800 cases, and not too far behind is the Philippines with 6,600 cases, and then Indonesia with 5,600 cases in a single day. Which leads us to the current news, top 3 news. All right, so we talked about this yesterday. First news, we talked about this yesterday, is it could be the first time that Prime Minister Netanyahu from Israel is going to be ousted. Why? He's been there for 12 years. What is happening? So the Israeli far-right leader Bennett joins anti-Netanyahu coalition. So Bennett's move could end Netanyahu's 12-year rule in the country that has seen 4 elections in 2 years. And Israeli far-right politician Naftali Bennett, a kingmaker whose Yamina party has 6 key seats in parliament, has said he would join a governing coalition that could end the rule of the country's longest-serving leader, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. And he said, basically he quoted, "It's my intention to do my utmost in order to form a national unity government along with my friend Yair Lapid, so that, God willing, together we can save the country from a tailspin and return Israel to its course." And this is what Bennett said on Sunday after meeting with his own party, Yamina. Now, the central Lapid has been tasked with forming a new cabinet by midnight on Wednesday, right, which was last night. Well, last night, not in Asia, but it would be in Europe, right? So Bennett's announcement is a key step towards ending Netanyahu's 12-year rule, and he said he had made the decision to prevent the country from sliding into the 5th consecutive election in just more than 2 years. So minutes after Bennett's announcement, Netanyahu lashed out, calling the plan a danger for the security of Israel. So he accused Bennett of betraying the Israeli right wing and urged nationalist politicians who have joined the coalition talks not to establish what he called a leftist government. So Bennett, a Netanyahu aide turned rival, said there was no feasible way for the right wing to form a governing majority in parliament. And he said, basically a government like this will succeed only if they work together as a group. And he also added that everyone will need to postpone fulfilling all their dreams, and they need to focus on what has to be done right now instead of fighting all day on what's impossible. So each of the past 4 elections, which was in the last 2 years, was seen as a referendum on Netanyahu, who has become a polarizing figure as he stands trial on corruption charges, with each ending in deadlock. So it is still a fragile alliance. So an anti-Netanyahu alliance would be fragile and require outside backing by Palestinian-Israeli members of parliament who oppose much of Bennett's agenda, which includes more settlement expansion in the occupied West Bank as well as its partial annexation. So it would be expected to focus on the economic recovery from the coronavirus pandemic while setting aside issues on which members disagree, such as the role of religion in society and Palestinian aspirations for statehood. So Netanyahu said such a coalition was a danger to Israel's security and future. So basically what he said was, what will it do for Israel's deterrence? How will we look in the eyes of our enemies? right? Especially looking in Iran and in Gaza with Hamas, like the terrorist organization, right? So a Bennett-Lapid agreement had already been reported to be close when violence broke out between Israel and Hamas fighters on May 10th, and Bennett suspended the discussions, and the fighting ended with a ceasefire after 11 days. So that is going to be pretty interesting that, unexpectedly, there's going to be a new leader in Israel, which is, spiritually wise, that is a very, very big change in leadership. Second news, very interesting, is China is now allowing couples to have 3 children. So, way in the past, there was that China one child rule, right? But China has announced that it will allow each couple to have up to 3 children, marking the end of a strict 2-child policy. So the change was approved by President Xi Jinping in a Politburo meeting, right? So state media outlet Xinhua said, and it comes after a once-in-a-decade census showed that China's population grew at its slowest pace in decades, and this added pressure on Beijing to boost measures for couples to have more babies and avert a population decline. So China's census, released earlier this month, showed that around 12 million babies were born last year, a significant decrease of 6 million babies from 2016. And the lowest number of births recorded since the 60s. So it was widely expected that after the census data results were released, that China would relax its family policy rules. Family planning and forced abortions. So in 2016, the government ended a controversial one-child policy and allowed couples to have 2 children. But the reform failed to reverse the country's falling birth rate despite a 2-year increase immediately afterwards. So there's a principal economist named Ms. Yu Su from the Economist Intelligence Unit said that while the second child policy had a positive impact on the birth rate, it proved only short-term in nature. So China's population trends have over the years been largely shaped by the one-child policy, which was introduced in 1979 to slow the population growth. And families that violated the rules faced fines, loss of employment, and sometimes forced abortions, right? So this is what they're going through in China, guys. So it's kind of ridiculous to even hear that the government's controlling how many babies you can have, right? So there's also a very skewed gender ratio in China. The one-child policy led to a severe gender imbalance in the country in a culture that historically favors boys over girls. And this posed problems in the marriage market, especially for men with less socioeconomic resources, right? So experts had, ahead of China's latest census, speculated that birth restrictions might be lifted entirely, though it appears as though China is treading cautiously. So some experts had pointed out that such a move could potentially lead to other problems, pointing out the huge disparity between city dwellers and rural people. So as much as women living in expensive cities such as Beijing and Shanghai may wish to delay or avoid childbirth, those in the countryside are likely to still follow tradition and want large families, right? So it's very interesting just to hear that this stuff is still going on where the government can control how many kids you're allowed to have, which is pretty crazy, right? So that is the second news. Last but not least, on the news today, coronavirus news in the UK. Scientists say that they're possibly in the early stages of a 3rd wave, as crazy as it sounds, guys. So there are signs in the UK that they are in the early stages of a 3rd wave of coronavirus infections, a scientist advising the government has said. So Professor Ravi Gupta from the University of Cambridge said, although new cases were relatively low, the Indian variant had caused exponential growth. And he said ending coronavirus restrictions in England on June 21st should be postponed. So, Environment Secretary George Eustice said the government could not rule out a delay to the planned lockdown easing. And on Sunday, the UK reported more than 3,000 new COVID infections for a 5th consecutive day. And prior to this, the UK had not surpassed that number since April 12th. So, asked on the BBC Radio's Today program whether the UK was already in a 3rd wave of infections, Professor Gupta said, yes, there has been exponential growth in the numbers of the new cases, and at least 3/4 of them are the new Indian variant. And the numbers of cases are relatively low at the moment. All waves start with low numbers of cases that grumble in the background and then become explosive, right? So it's possible. However, he said the number of people who have been vaccinated in the UK meant this wave would probably take longer to emerge than previous ones, and there may be a false sense of security for some time, and that's another concern that the scientists have. So the number of people who are fully vaccinated, having received both doses, has now passed 25 million. Right, which means it's closing on 50% of the British population. And Professor Gupta, a member of the new and emerging respiratory virus threats advisory group, said ending restrictions in June should be delayed by a few weeks while they gather more intelligence. So if you look at the cost and benefits of getting it wrong, it's probably heavily in favor of a delay, so they think that's the key thing. So the final stage of the government's roadmap for lifting lockdown, which would see all legal limits on social contact removed, is due no earlier than June 21st. And of course, The government is taking things one step at a time because they don't want to go through a third wave, because that would be crazy if there's a third wave, right? And they're almost 50% vaccinated. But of course, herd immunity will not come until they hit about 2/3, around 70% around there, right? So let's see what happens, and let's see what will happen on their final decision. Will be reached by June 14th. So let's wait for that to see what happens in the UK. All right, guys. So that means we're going to get into some more spiritual time over here. We do need time for some praise and worship. So I hope that everyone here will really look forward to this, especially at this time when we're having a 70-day prayer condition. It is day 2. So we're going to start off with the wedding banquet of love, and then everything God has given. And then we'll end off with an oldie but a goodie. Lord, I call upon your name.
Now the time's come, time for us all to sing the new songs. Everyone come and dance. Wave your arms, move your legs now. Shake your head all around. Move and shake your whole body. Let's sing the new songs of this new history. Let's go. Let's all run. All the praise and glory we offer only to heaven. Everyone rise, come on. Move your body, feel the music, dance as one. Just wave both of your hands, shuffle your feet, while matching the beat and singing with happiness. Ha! Full of joy, God and the Spirit watch. They can't help but laugh, dancing along, dancing with them. We are strengthened, rise up in new story. Let's make this wedding banquet for 1,000 years as we fulfill God's perfect world of love. We'll make it awesome. We'll run without regrets as our souls and spirits live as owners. Forever up in heaven, that great eternal world. We're loving God forever, loving the Holy Spirit now and always. We will live with the Lord forever. Jump, 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 jump. Jump, 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 jump. Jump, 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 jump. Jump, 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 jump. Ho, 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 ho. Let's make this wedding banquet for 1,000 years as we fulfill God's perfect world of love. We'll make it awesome. We'll run without regrets as our souls and spirits live as owners. Forever up in heaven, that great eternal world. We're loving God forever, loving the Holy Spirit now and always. We will live with the Lord forever. We will live with the Lord forever. We will live with the Lord forever. Jump, 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 jump. Jump, 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 jump. Jump, 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 jump. Jump, 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 jump. Jump, 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 jump. Jump, 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 jump. Jump, 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 jump. Jump, 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 jump.
this moment I wish to be reborn. With all my heart I call and call. All of a sudden I can feel the fire of his love come closer to me. As the warmth of his love continuously seeps into my soul, hot tears begin to stream down from my eyes. 'Cause I feel my Lord has come, I feel him next to me. The glowing warmth of his love is healing my spirit. How I want to be the love of my Lord. Honestly, I plead, forgive me, oh my love, my precious Lord. I call upon your Lord, I call upon your name. Oh my Lord, oh my love. Lord, where are you? Where are you now? I want to be in your arms and confess to you, oh Lord. At this moment I wish to be reborn. With all my heart I call and call. All of a sudden I can feel the fire of his love come closer to me. As the warmth of his love continuously seeps into my soul, hot tears begin to stream down from my eyes. 'Cause I feel my Lord has come, I feel him next to me. The glowing warmth of his love that's healing my spirit. How I want to be the love of my Lord. Honestly, I plead, forgive me, oh my love, my precious Lord. 'Cause I feel my Lord has come. Please stay right by my side. Reveal your heart to me. Receive this heart of mine. For I have no strength without you, my Lord. All my hope is in you, Lord. Oh my love, my precious Lord, I call upon your name. Oh my Lord, I call upon your name. Oh my Lord, I call upon your
And there you go. That is Lord, I Call Upon Your Name. You guys remember that song? That's like way back at the rapture time, right? Lord, I Call Upon Your Name. Before that, Everything God Has Given. And of course, the Wedding Banquet of Love. All right, guys. So let's get into today's word study for today. And what a message on Tuesday, Alpha Day message. Just a lot of deep realizations. And of course, there's a bunch of key points in there that really just hit home. First, of course, this week's message is all about worries, concerns, tribulations, problems, all these things that we're going through. You got to pray, right? If you pray, it will disappear with prayer, right? God will take care of it. So that's the first thing we need to know, is we need to have that faith to know that God will take care of it no matter what, right? And if you look at the Sunday message, it is pretty incredible that the one thing you have no chance of helping or stopping is like the North Korean war. And through prayer, even though they can't even talk to them or do anything else, they were able to stop something that was impossible for them to do directly. So that's the power of prayer itself. And of course, Sunsim did mention about this week is so important because, a king or a president comes to speak to you and they speak first. And then if they allow you to speak, then you can say everything that you want and they'll listen to you, right? Or they can just leave without saying anything. But what is God doing? The King of Kings and Lord of Lords, God Almighty, omnipotent, omniscient, is saying, I want to listen to what you want to say. So this is the week you got to pray with everything that you have. So I really hope that a lot of us here will really be able to pray with all of our hearts for everything. Like I'm praying for my YouTube channel. I'm praying for my health, like my financial, my spiritual. I'm praying for every little detail, trying my best not to miss a single dot or a stroke, right? So I hope that all of us here know that this is a really, really powerful time for all of us, right? So, the importance of prayer that Sunseam just kind of reemphasizes, things work out when you pray. And yet this prayer is so important that you're able to, through prayer, you're able to make the situation so that God says, oh, tell me everything you want to say. So you're able to kind of, it's kind of like what Pastor Joan said when it comes to like the child trying to get something from their mom. They're like, oh, mom, massaging them like, hey, I love you. Oh, you're so pretty, this, and this. And even though the mom knows it's coming, they still feel so good. And they're willing to do it because you treated them so well like this too. So it is really interesting that we are able to make that situation like that. I also like another point before we actually got into the message itself was once you pray and it's approved by God, it will happen 100%. It's guaranteed. Once God approves it, it is done. Whether you pray directly or the angels take it to God, it is coming. 100% it'll be done if God approves it. And it's just a matter of when it'll be done. But the big thing is, once it's approved by God, it will be done. So that's another really big thing that we have to think about there too. Now, when we get to the message, because it's an Alpha Day message, right? It was incredible. That one point of how hard it begins and how it starts. God starts in this difficult time. Or God starts when there's nothing. It's basically a pioneering stage, right? And basically, something was just telling us how hard it was. Like that one part just really struck me so hard. Is he's talking about all the preparation he did coming from the countryside, and a year before he's like making the charts and the diagrams. He finds someone, and then God provides him with some job so he could pay this artist to do it for him, and he's got all these things ready. A week before he goes into the mountains, he's got these two guys with him. Like we don't even know where these guys came from, right? Both of them have like dreams or visions. Like one guy had the dream where the rock melted and you have to testify for Sunseam. The other person was, I forget what the other person had, like was it a vision he saw or something like that? But it was pretty incredible. Like you'd think that these guys would still be there. And he's like, the very first thing is, do you know how hard it is? If you think about it carefully, guys, the system, the infrastructure back then was really, really different than today in Korea. Like we can get to Wonmyeong in like 3 hours, right? Over there back then, they're like those highways weren't even made back at that time, which means that it's like the countries. Imagine coming from the countryside where there's nothing there. You have nothing to live on, just the gospel, and the only thing driving you to go further is that the Holy Son told you to go, and He said He'll be with you. That is crazy, right? And the part that really struck me hardcore was he's like, and then he went to the prayer mountain in was it Mount Samgak, right? And he preached, and basically they said they would clean, and then they would just need some food and some a place to sleep, and just that scene when he's sleeping and he can hear them, and they're talking about, I really believe Sunseam's the one, but look at it, nothing's happening. We're stuck here in this place, and then they both of them decide to leave. Like that for me was, that's heartbreaking. Like at least you had two people willing to help you out. And then you overhear them while you're sleeping and you can hear them talk saying, let's leave him right now. Tell me how heartbreaking that is, that once they leave and Sunseam knows they're not coming back, but you're basically starting worse. Like you're at that point, you're worse than you were before. You had two people at least with you when you first came. Now you have zero. You're on your own. What a pitiful beginning. And the realization is totally different than us. Because we'd be like, God, what is going on? Oh my goodness. Like there's no one. God, is this really it? Because we all know they took like almost 3 years to find the first person to realize. It was actually 2 years and 10 months, but almost 3 years, right? Almost 3 years of like, what the heck? That is so crazy. And he said his realization wasn't complaining and getting mad at God. It was, wow, I realized Jesus started like this too. That is incredible mind mentality. That is. Wow. So even for that, he's like, God starts in places with nothing. There's no steps, no procedures, no SOPs, no organization, no structure. It's got nothing. And that's how the Almighty God starts, right? And I thought a lot about this, like, why would you start with nothing? And it's, well, because you can't have anything in your mind. It has to all be done the way God wants. You can't be like, no, God, not that way. This is better. This is how the world does it. But I was trying to think about different ways why they would do this. But wow, God starts with nothing. And this is why all you can do is hold on to God and believe, right? And you're going to start realizing how God works more than how the world works, right? So just listening to that entire story was incredible, especially when, you know, his help came from a Buddhist monk, right? Just like this week, he met a Buddhist monk too, like helped him out with 7 different things. But the Buddhist monk's the one that gave him a room and then gave him another bigger place for him to start. Isn't that crazy? Right? So for me, I'm just like, wow, this is how Alpha Day started. Like, this is the background behind it. This is how God works. He starts with nothing, right? And from that nothing, we have all been set free from the old domain. And now is a time for us to make history through the gospel. We've become the counterparts of God. We are the brides of this history. So like, sometimes like, don't give up, but push forward. So for me, it was really incredible. Like, listening to it was like, wow. And on top of it, we're having, it's this prayer conditions really, just setting a lot of people on fire, challenging ourselves to pray even more. So I was really, really happy about this too. So I'm really thankful that we're able to do this type of condition. Either way, so that is my big thing, because that was a big thing I realized so much, and I was so happy to hear the message, and just that one thing, no matter how hard it is, right? You got to keep going. Don't give up. Keep pushing. And it helps us to look at the situation now, but it's so much better now than it was before, right? So grateful and thankful to Sunseem for delivering that message, telling more stories of the past, and I was really, really inspired by it too. It inspired me in my prayer after also. All right, guys, so that is the word study for today. Hope you guys really enjoyed that, which brings us into the song of choice for today. Today's song of choice is coming from the Philippines. It's going to be a cover song from Jason Mraz. So Jason Mraz originally sang this song called I Won't Give Up on Us, right? And this from 2 Filipino singers, a duet. It was originally sang as a solo, but this is from my favorite Filipino singer, male singer. It's male vocalist is Daryl Ong, and this is a new singer I'm just seeing for the first time. Her name is Dea, right? So this is Daryl Ong and Dea from the Philippines, and they're doing a cover of the song, a duet of Jason Mraz's I Won't Give Up on Us.
When I look into your eyes, it's like watching the night sky or a beautiful sunrise. Well, there's so much they hold, and just like them old stars, I see that you've come so far to be right where you are. How old is your soul? Well, I won't give up on us, even if the skies get rough. I'm giving you all my love. I'm still looking up.
When you need your space to do some navigating, I'd be here patiently waiting to see what you find. 'Cause even the stars, they burn. Some even fall to the earth without
who walks away so easily. I'm here to stay and make the difference that I can make. Oh. Our differences, they do a lot to teach us how to use the tools, the gifts we got. Yeah, we got a lot at stake. Woo.
And in the end, just in my bed, at least we didn't intend for us to work. We didn't break, we didn't burn. We had to learn how to bear without the world caving in. I had to learn what I've got and what I'm not, and who I am. I won't give up on us, even if the skies get rough. I'm giving you all my love. I'm still looking up. I'm still looking up. I won't give up on us. God knows I'm tough. He knows we got a lot to learn. God knows we're worth it.
God knows we're worth it.
Give up.
And there you go. That is Daryl Ong and Dea, singers from the Philippines, and that song is I Won't Give Up from Jason Mraz, and that was a cover. Great duet. I never heard that song in a duet, but that was amazing. All right, guys, so that brings us into the last segment for today. And of course, every Mondays and Wednesdays, kind of thoughts of the week, what's going on, what's going in and around our heads these days, okay? So, right now, it's the second day for the 70-day prayer condition, and I hope that a lot of you are just, slowly bringing ourselves into it. And of course, 70-day prayer condition is special, not because it means we're supposed to do pre-dawn, because pre-dawn is something we're supposed to do anyways. It's special because of what is the subject, right? It is to defeat our enemies, the slanderers, the persecutors. And, obviously we know there's a lot of these reports going around and things that are happening all around the world. So this is something where it might not be happening in your country, but we are being proactive and praying for it even before it happens. So I hope that all of us here will really set our condition straight. For myself, I'm getting more deeply into prayer right now. I'm really getting myself kind of more serious into it because, it's not easy. Prayer is not easy, especially when you're by yourself and you're like confined in your rooms because of the lockdowns and the pandemics, right? Like even for me, I'm in a place that doesn't even have a lounge, right? So, and I'm not going to pray out there when there's like all these other students out there too. So, in my room, it's just so easy to just look at your bed and say, I think I could pray on my bed. It'd be more comfortable for my back and more comfortable for, my body, right? And then, you think you can do it, but you're going to wake up like 40, an hour, 2 hours later, like, oh, why'd I do that, right? So, it's a more serious time right now, and as I'm getting more serious into my prayer, trying to get really, really deep into it, it reminds me of a lot of the education that Sunsteam gave in the past. And I'm starting to get through this because I want to get into deep prayer, like really deep prayer. And I'm someone who's it's not an easy thing to continuously pray inside your room, especially when you're by yourself. But you do it, but it's not that good, right? So I'm like, I gotta do this seriously. So there's a couple things that we really need to understand in order for us to get into deep prayer. And number one is you just need time. Right? So before your pre-dawn service, a lot of people wake up maybe an hour, 40 minutes before, and sometimes you got to get a good 40 minutes of prayer in, as a normal thing, right? But if you want to get to deep prayer, you need time. Like you really need a lot of time. And especially if we're not that spiritual, we need even more time to get into that deep prayer. And the first thing we have to understand is you kind of have to have that no limitation prayer. Where you're not sitting there like, okay, I only got 30 minutes, so what am I going to do? No, you got to go into the no limitation prayer. And you can't think about the next schedule. It's just you got to have enough time, right? So I'm doing a condition after the pre-dawn service is done, and we're just going straight into prayer without any limitations, right? Well, obviously there is time limitations eventually, right? But I sat there like, okay, I got to do this. And Sunsteam said there's when you start to get into deep prayer, there are two limitations we always face, or he calls them envelopes, right? You have to break through this limitation or this envelope, right? And the first one is your body. And I face this, for the last 2 days. It's just like your body's tired or you're sore, right? And you have pain in your back or you have pain in your legs or whatever it is, or you're really tired. And Sansi said that's the first envelope you have to hit when you get into prayer. He says after you hit that envelope, you keep praying, you get into really good prayer because your body's not bothering you anymore. And the second envelope you're going to hit is the envelope of your mind. And it's like, what does that mean? And Sunseem said, that's the time when you have no idea what to, it's like you're all prayed out. You have no more topics. You're like kind of sitting there repeating the same things like, what am I going to do? Like you feel like there's nothing left to pray for. And most people at this time will just finish their prayer there. But he says you have to break through even that to get into a deeper prayer, like to deep prayer. And you're going to be stuck there. And it reminded me because my second day of prayer in this prayer condition, I was stuck for like 40 minutes. I just prayed. I had a lot of good prayers coming in. Then all of a sudden, I'm like, what? And I was stuck for 40 minutes trying to figure out what am I going to do? I stood up. I kind of walked around thinking like, God, what do I do? I'm trying to figure out these new topics or what should I pray about? And eventually 40 minutes later, I was like, and I got back into my prayer again. But unfortunately, it was limited by time. And even for me, I'm going to be just super honest with you, that was like 3 hours. And even then, I was limited to time, right? And I was like, wow, I either have to get more spiritual or, I have to become someone who's, prepared a little bit more, get my more and more topics written down first more than anything else. So I was like, wow, this is really a time for us to pray. This is a time where the King is telling us, tell me what you want. Tell me everything you want. Right? I want to hear everything. And that's why it's such an important time to just let loose. I talked about my YouTube channel, talked about my content. I talked about so many different things like, hey, I'm talking about all these things. And I really eventually enjoyed it. Right? A lot. And I was like, yeah, this is how I got to struggle for it. I got to want it. Prayer's got to be something where I'm struggling to reach God more than anything else. So I hope it's something that you guys really are going to fight through also. The second thing I was thinking about also is I think there's this really bad stigma in Providence, but it's a bad thing, obviously, but it's not at our level. Okay, what does that mean? It means that, for instance, falling asleep during prayer. Okay, so this is something that, of course, we know that's not a good thing to fall asleep in front of God. We know that, right? And we also know that it's something where, people look down on it and everything else. But, we always hear it in the message. It seems like, no, don't fall asleep. This, and this, right? And of course, we want to be the ones that follow the word. But of course, there's so many things that are going on. So many things. For instance, sometimes people don't get enough sleep. People are like counseling all night. People are doing this. There's just so many things going on to the point where like, what the heck is going on, right? And this is something that we have to really understand to that level. And one thing, like, it's one thing for Sunseem to rebuke us because, we understand. But we have to think about the type of culture and atmosphere we want amongst our brothers and sisters, right? Bride to bride. Right? And I think one of the things is, yes, we already know that it's not good to fall asleep, but it's worse if your own brothers and sisters are judging you for it. But it's kind of we're all going to face this. I don't think I've known a single person ever in Providence who has never not fallen asleep in prayer at pre-dawn. It's a hard time. Like, it's very few times that people in Providence actually get enough rest, right? For whatever it may be, for what reason you don't fall asleep. But I really thought about this a lot. I thought, wow, you know what? This is something that I really think that we have to think about deeply and carefully, right? And understand that, yeah, this is something that we have to understand at that level and say, yeah, this is what I should do. And I hope that all of us here, we can set that culture in pre-dawn. Because, like, I'm going to be honest, before I was a little bit military and stuff. And, I was like, because you're just really gung-ho and passionate and fiery. But I think it's a time where we really have to support each other. Because I realized about myself, it's so different. And I'll tell you this one cool story. When I was doing the Holy Spirit movement back in 2009, 10, and I was doing it for a year and a half, and we're traveling with Pastor Joan. And we were like the praise team. We were like pre-dawn all the way up, just preparing for this Holy Spirit movement. And by the time you're done giving all your energy for praise, you have the message to listen to. And sometimes we're tired. And this one time, I'm in the front row. Pastor Joan is right in front of me. And, you're not doing it on purpose, obviously. And I'm falling asleep, right? And I fell asleep in front of Pastor Joan. And Chung Ho, which is the praise leader, the pastor, right? The pastor praise leader, Jung Chung Ho. And what he did was the most thoughtful and amazing thing. And it really made me think differently. He like very subtly just put his hand on mine and slowly squeezed it, and I woke up like a natural wake up. It was very interesting. Because when someone like hits you like, wake up, you're like, whoa, right? And you can freak out and everyone knows you woke up, right? But he just grabbed my hand, gently squeezed it, and it was kind of like a flower blooming, like, oh, and my eyes opened, and I was like so thankful to him. It was just that entire process was so loving and thoughtful. I was like, wow, this is the way we should be. And I'm very guilty of this too, because in the past I was very like, come on, pushing and making, wanting everyone to do well, even when I was struggling myself. But as we're all struggling together in the same boat, I really hope that we can set that condition where people don't feel shamed or feel judged for doing that. But, like imagine say I prayed for 3 hours, but imagine I fall asleep for 10. But isn't that crazy if you pray for 2 hours and 50 minutes, but you sleep for 10? That's still, you should be celebrating that more than why'd you sleep for 10 minutes? It's more of, hey, you prayed for that long. Wow, right? You struggled and you did it. And that should be the things that we celebrate and glorify more than the mistakes itself. So that was something I was thinking about too as I'm setting these conditions. So either way, very, very grateful and thankful. Guys, that is the end of today's last segment. Hope it was something that made you think a lot about it too. Very grateful for all of you. Hope you guys have an amazing and awesome Wednesday service tonight, that you'll get some great messages, and we'll talk about that message on Friday too. Everyone, it is Wednesday. Have an amazing day, and we'll see you tomorrow on day 3 of the 7-day condition on the Morning Star Drive on 117.8.
It's the Morning Star Drive 117.8. You soaring up with sky, now's the time, don't delay. I'm sitting in my ride and it's time to fly, so let's realign. Just listen and fill your mind.
I'm burning with desire and the passion. Nobody can stop me